Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the CVJ Mei. This is the latest offering from CVJ, and spoiler alert, finally CVJ offers us a product that has been well designed, well tuned, and I could not be happier. I mean, those that have followed me for longer period of time know that I've always liked CVJ, the CVJ mirror, the CVJ CSE, the CSA. Those are all, from an era. The CS8. Those are all from an era back 2019, 2020, where CVJ was actually making some nice IEMs. They were budget, cheap, but they sounded good. They were well built, and they just sounded good. And then all of a sudden they went through this period where they just launched one after the other of absolutely disappointing IEMs. I can understand, and I try and understand always the side of the engineer that designs it, and I do all of that, but I still to this day cannot understand how the angel wings can be considered to be something that sounds good. Anyway, enough of that. What we want to know is about the Mei. This is the package of the Mei. Very simple, very basic. I mean, not much money you can see what's spent on this. There's two colors available, a silver, which I have, and a kind of a half brilliant, shiny black. As I was saying, the box is very simple, nothing really that stands out. IEMs came over there. Accessories are as basic as can possibly be. Just a single set of tips and a very basic cable. I mean, I'm not even going to bother showing you the cable because it is honestly okay, fine, fair enough. This is a $59 product, but I am sure, and this is really the only criticism I have for CVJ in the case of the Mei. I am sure they could have done a little bit better. I am sure they could have. They could have surely included a better set of tips. They could have surely also included a better cable, and maybe even, who knows, a little carrying case. And even if all of that had meant that the price, instead of being $59 was $69, it would still be worth all of it, or even $79. Honestly, very few times you will hear me say that an IEM should be more expensive than what it is. But the CVJ Mei is one of those very few times where I say that. And that is kind of already telling you that I was truly impressed by the Mei. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been absolutely unbelievable. What makes the Mei special? Well, the Mei is special because it uses switches. And it uses switches not in the most usual manner that we've seen switches being used up to now, in the sense that usually up to now what we have seen is that switches get used to perhaps control a little bit the bass, as is the case, for example, with the new KZ-DI, and then sometimes there is as well some slight adjustments in the mids and highs, upper mids and highs, which is the case, for example, of the Star River from TRI. Over here, what they've done is, I think, a very smart way of actually implementing the switches, which is, there are 4 settings. One of the settings, it's just, well, sorry, before I start, this is a 1+2, okay? So let's keep this in mind. This is 1 DD 10mm plus 2 BAs, one is a Knowles and one is a custom one. So what they've basically done in the 4 settings is you have a setting which is both switches off, so 0/0, which is only the DD, which honestly is a setting which I just listened to, obviously, to see how it was, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, unless you really are, I don't know, totally deaf in the higher frequencies, and so you don't really need them over there, it in my opinion makes no sense. But anyway, it is what it is. So you have that setting, then you have the 1/0 setting. Okay, so you have the 1/0 setting, that there we go, that's the switches over there. In that setting, you have the DD and the Knowles BA working. Both Knowles, by the way, are actually, both BAs, by the way, actually are on the nozzle, which is kind of a subject which always brings up a lot of controversy because by being on the nozzle, it's the easiest way of implementing them, but it also makes things sound well. You get to feel the taste of the negative aspects of a BA much quicker. Anyway, so that setting, the 1-0, it's the DD plus the nulls, and what that basically does is it causes a recession in the sound in that 5, 6, 7K area. There's a big dip there, and I'm guessing you could listen to it. I listened to it as well briefly, and it's neither here or there. But I'm sure that there will people that will like that setting. You know, that's the for me personally, it's much better than the 0-0 setting, obviously. But it wasn't a setting that really made it, you know, got me going. And then you got the two other final settings, which is 0-1, which is the DD plus the custom, or then the 1-1, which is the DD plus the 2 BAs. These two settings are the settings which I believe make the most sense. And basically the difference between one and the other is the energy level. Let's say past 5K. There's a slight difference in energy level. So if you are perhaps a little bit sensitive to the higher frequencies, you'd probably go for the DD plus the custom, which is a 0-1. If you are going deaf like I am, you probably just stick with the 1-1, which is the DD plus the 2 BAs. Okay, and I mean the difference in the energy level is minor, but it's perceptible. Okay, anyway, this is the Mei. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful IEM, very nice. It's got this kind of moondrop kind of vibe. You know, it's got this air of moondrop to it. Very nice. Totally a fingerprint magnet, the shell. It's got a nice weight to it. Fits really nice. I'm using a nice HTK cable, by the way. This cable was now recently on sale, actually, for I believe $13, which for the cable it is. And this goes along the lines of what I was just saying. If they wanted, they could have actually added a nice cable to the package, and that would not mean too much more money spent. Okay, it fits very nicely. I'm using the KB Aero 7 tips again. Why? Because the stock tips are an absolute pointless to, I mean, they're pointless to use. I had a person recently make a comment on one of my posts that it's a pity that I don't usually talk about the stock cables and the stock tips implemented with the IEMs that I'm testing. And that's a valid point, because I mean, not many people have the money to go and then spend extra then on the cable and on the tips, although of the two, the most important one obviously is the tips. But this, you know, the accessories of the Mei are really the only negative or remark I'm going to be making, because the rest of it is fantastic. It's a fantastic IEM. Okay, but anyway, as I was saying, very nice IEM, well built, sturdy. It isolates perfectly once you have the proper tip in there. These 07 for me work absolutely wonders. And that's it. I mean, you know, physically the hardware side of things, it's been well done, with just the required adjustment done to the accessories, in my opinion. All right, that's the IEM. What then do I have here to compare with it? Well, I've got here what well, first of all, IEMs at around $60, all of them, or most of them at least, and then some of them with switches. I've got the TRI. Got the TRI Star River, also using switches, and again, the biggest difference between some of the between the settings is one setting has an earlier pinna gain which peaks earlier before 2K, the other one peaks just after 2K and has a slower ascent into that pinna gain. Okay, this is a 110mm, 16mm driver in this setup, and when I reviewed this a couple of months ago, maybe now 3-4 months ago, I'm not too sure, I actually enjoyed this. There were comments that, oh, it's too thin in the bass, it's too bright. Well, I've got news for you. The bass here is the same as the bass there. The issue here is that, yes, you do have way more energy in the mids, upper mids, and treble than what you do have over here, in overall. So yes, that does make this sound thinner than that. But besides that, I didn't personally find the tuning or the sound to be aggressive or overly bright or overly thin or anything of the sort. No, it sounds nice, and it actually was an IEM which came and break the sequel of, well, not the sequel, but what was happening with the dual DDs that were more well designed, which was the case of the Zero from the Truth Years, and then later the HBB Khan, QKZ HBB Khan as well. Also two dynamic driver DDs, and this came and gave us a different tuning. And in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I actually liked this tuning more than the others. The others had their valid points, fair enough, but this overall for me was more complete. Next to it, I've got the TRN ST5, which is an radar, which is an IM, which also kind of went a little bit under the radar. It got a little bit of attention initially, but then went kind of a little bit under the radar. It's a 1+4, so it's basically like a V90 from the past, all right, but a way more properly tuned, way more polished V90, and the V90, mind you, was one of the better TRNs, okay? So the ST5 here, and again, funny enough, this have got very similar tunings, just this and this have got very similar tunings, just different energy levels, okay? Next to this, and I was actually very lucky to get this IEM here, because I didn't have it. I had it, but then I actually gave it away as a gift to a friend. And funny enough, I was actually with that same friend today, and I asked him if he still had the IEM, and he said yes, and he wasn't even using it. So I asked him if I could actually borrow it to make this review, because I had just bought another one to do this review, and I was waiting for that IEM, which is the mirror, to arrive so that I could do this comparison. But, well, as I said, I met up with my friend, he lent me his mirror, and that's why I'm doing this review now, and you guys can get early access to what I think of the Mei. Anyway, this is the CVJ mirror, which was probably the last well-tuned CVJ. This is back from 2020. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, to a great extent, the Mei was based on that formula, because when I show you the graphs, you'll understand. They are very, very, very similar. The difference here is that this is more subdued than this. Okay, this was a darker sounding IM, but I'll get to that in more details just now. Then CCA HM20 1+7. I absolutely adore this IM. It's one of my favorite hybrids, and I mean, for $60. I think it's an absolute beast, way superior in my opinion to the KZ ZAR, which is their hybrid 1+7 flagship, let's put it that way. The complaint with this was that, oh, it was too bassy. I don't agree with it, because this is a 7mm, so although it can graph like it's got a ton of bass, yes, quality wise it's there. It's capable of rumbling and so on and so forth, but it's a quantity issue here, okay? So it doesn't have more quantity than does the ST5 or the Mei or the mirror, because of the smaller diameter of the actual dynamic driver. And then finally on this side, yeah, I've got the most expensive one, which is the Joy Audio Shine. Joy Audio, well, I'm going to say this, but I'm sure that we already know by now that there is some interaction or some part of KZ. This is a part of the KZ empire. That's a 1+2, and that also uses 4 switches. Okay, and it was a valid attempt. I'll give it that much. It was a valid attempt. The switches had several settings: pop. It was pop, rock, hi-fi, and so on and so forth. But you know, at the end of the day, some were just too lean, cut out too much the bass, and you ended up with a sound which was neither here or there. And then others were just it just didn't come together nicely. There wasn't a nice coherence. All right. Okay. Just one final recap before I get into more details. Star River, $59. ST5, $59. Mirror, $55. HM20, $60. Joy Audio Shine, $79. And CVJ Mei, $59. So as you can see, all of them, for the exception of the Shine, are within the same price bracket. 2 DDs, 1 plus 4, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 7, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2. Okay. Sound of the Mei. You could say all of them are extensions of a basic V shaped with various levels of being V signatures. Okay. Probably the two most pronounced V signatures will be the HM20 and the Shine, but by virtue of their dynamic driver, they actually don't sound as V as you would think. At least I didn't find the mids in any way recessed on the HM20. Over here, they just sound, it's not that they sound recessed, they sound strange. There's something there that just, okay. And of the two, if you guys might recall what I did the review, I actually said that this was the better IEM, period. It uses the same dynamic driver, and the implementation of the BAs over here, although obviously it's 7 BAs as opposed to 2, the implementation of those BAs here has been done in a more successful manner, in my opinion, compared to the Shine. So as I was saying, these are all various permutations of V signatures, some more neutral, some more pronounced. This is also a V signature on the more tamer side of things. It's got a warm bass, a slight emphasis on the mid bass as opposed to the sub bass, but it's capable of rumbling. And then it's got these, in the setting that I used, mind you, which is the 1-1 setting, it's got this very almost kind of neutralish mid and highs across the board. There's not really any major dips or major peaks or anything of the sort. It just sounds very correct. And when I listened to it, I was immediately kind of, I've heard something like this. I know I've got something like this in my collection of IEMs. And what was that thing that I had heard that I sounded familiar? Well, that thing is this: my collaboration with XINHS, the Erasmus. The similarity of the tune of the Erasmus with the Mei is just unbelievable. And those of you that were lucky to get the Erasmus can confirm that this plays very nice. This is it's a neutrally warm signature that just plays very nice. It's very easy to listen to. It's non-fatiguing. It's got great bass, great mids, just the right amount of extension up top. Just an overall very satisfying listen. Also use the switches, by the way. And the Mei is this kind of signature. It's a warm signature in terms of the bass, with a slightly more energetic mids and highs than on the Erasmus, and therefore the similarity. Bass, as I said, it's very well executed. It could be perhaps just a little bit more snappy, a little bit more clean in its decay, but it's very nice. It's a very easy to listen bass, very satisfying. You know, you listen to it and it doesn't bug you, it doesn't bother you, it doesn't tire you out. It's got a nice slam, nice control, good enough texture, good enough resolution. It's fine. The mids, in my opinion, and considering it's a 1+2, is faultless. The mids on the Mei are absolutely faultless. Female vocals, male vocals, instruments, guitars, pianos, everything just comes across very correct, very natural. I didn't find any hints of any sibilance of any sort. I didn't find the tonality or the timbre to ever be wrong. Everything sounds just very, very well. Only on very, very few occasions, and I'm talking about maybe with something like, for example, Tell Me from Millet, which is a song that I recently was introduced to by a good friend of mine. Maybe there you can also, it's a demanding song. I mean, her voice is absolutely unreal. You can get the sense of that there's BAs there at work, but for the remainder of the stuff, or I mean, Moon River from Jacinta, it sounds absolutely faultless on the Mei, faultless, considering the price. And you know, and you might say to yourself, oh, but Acros, like, it seems like everything plays well. Well, you know what? guys, the reality is we are in a period where there is truly a lot of very well designed IEMs, and they have to be very well designed. They have to play well, because the market underneath, well, the market has various levels of competitiveness. Under $200, the market is an absolute bloodbath. You know, bloodbath, and that bloodbath gets increasingly harder at the lower you go in prices. I mean, we have $20 IEMs now, okay, and I'm talking 1 year, 7 hertz, 0, holler. We have a whole bunch of IEMs under $20 that play not well. They play extremely well, and to start complaining and to start, oh, but this, oh, but that, no, they play really well. When back in 2019, 2020, well, 2020, I believe, we got the CRA, the original CCA CRA, for $15. That thing was just, well, actually it was 12 to start with. The thing was unreal. It played really well, but that was just one. The rest of those cheap IEMs were just nothing special. Now you have a whole bunch of them, and then, as I said, at every one of those price points, you have such good IEMs that either the IEM is really, really good, or then it's just not going to win. It's just not going to do any damage. It's just going to be another one. And that's why there's so much rotativity in the market, because a lot of the IEMs don't have enough of that performance advantage to really stick and stay. And the Mei, I think CVJ, I know CVJ has hit the nail on the hammer, because, as I say, everything just sounds absolutely beautiful. Even in the treble, which sometimes is the area where you can see the flaws of the well, not sometimes, the majority of the times you can actually see the flaw of a cheaper design, a more cheaply designed IEM, and also considering the fact that the actual BAs are on the nozzle itself. Even in the treble, this has absolutely perfect treble. Again, only in very, very few occasions, and I mean, this is me really pushing the envelope now. Something like, for example, let me see, Silver Rain, for example, from Marcus Miller. You can sometimes get that sensation that the cymbals are not 100% what you ideally would like, but then when you sit back and think, hold on, this is me now thinking that I'm listening to a Noli VX or something like that. No, I'm listening to a $59 IEM. High Stepping from Larry Carlton again. You can sometimes kind of, okay, the treble is just a little bit unpolished here. Forget it. Remember, this is $59, and it's absolutely short of amazing how good it actually sounds. In terms of the technicalities, soundstage is more than wide enough, in my opinion. I mean, very wide, loads of space, loads of airness, good imaging. Perhaps only the height of the soundstage could be a little bit better, but the depth and the width, perfect. Detail retrieval, spot on, nothing to be said there. Resolution, again, spot on, more than adequate, more than fine. So yeah, quick recap again. Bass, mids are the two, let's say, prominent frequency spectrums that really stand out. Treble is also there. Perhaps the treble just a little bit back, in the sense that it can sometimes, it could have been just a little bit more polished, okay? But otherwise, they're perfect. In terms of the technicalities, really it's only the depth of the soundstage that, the height of the soundstage that could be a little bit better. But overall, it's got nice 3D-ness. It's got this nice sense of width, okay? Imaging is nice. Detailed retrieval is good. Timbre and tonality, again, nothing that offended me in any way. It sounds absolutely, I mean, it's spot on. Trust me. When I say that this is playing well, I've got no need to be exaggerating, because that's the truth. It is playing well. Compare them to these here. How does it stack up quickly? Well, easily. Compared to the Shine, there's no comparison. It's a far superior IEM to the Shine. Better bass, better executed mids, better highs, everything just sounds, when you listen to both of them, this sounds good by itself. When you listen to that, it's on a different level. Okay, it's on a different level. Let me put it that way. It's, if I have to make an analogy here so that you guys can perhaps understand what I'm trying to say is, for example, this is a DT600 from AudioSense, fantastic all-BA IEM. Okay, this is a Duno SA6 MK2. That's the difference that exists. So that out of the question. Compared to its predecessor, although they share, I believe they share a lot of similarities, this is a darker sounding IEM, and perhaps that was the reason why it maybe was not as successful as it could have been. And when I show you the graph, you'll see what I mean. But otherwise, this is definitely an upgrade over the mirror, definitely. And for the price difference, no, it's a no-brainer. It makes way more sense than the mirror. Okay, so that there as well, out of the equation. Compared to the Star River, it's more energetic in the mids, upper mids, and treble than the Mei is, and that can, for some, for me it didn't bug me, but I understand that for some people it can make it sound thin. And yes, it will lack it. This will be, when you listen to these two, this will sound more clinical, more cold, while this has got a nice warmness and nice coziness to it, which is ultimately more gratifying and more satisfying. You won't get fatigued as much from this than that. So again, superior to that in terms of sound and everything. All right, it's a valid upgrade, very valid upgrade over the original mirror. No comparison with the Shine, which then leaves us with these two, okay, which is the ST5 and the HM20, and these two are the ones that can be better compared. Why? Again, this is going to be something which you see the graphs, you're going to be surprised. The graph of the ST5 is very similar to this. Where the Mei edges out the ST5 is the ST5, you notice that BA timbre more easily, especially when you start cranking it at the same volume levels, and I would say up to about 60%, they are very neck on neck with each other. But when you really push it, over here you feel that although it scales very well, as does the Mei, you start noticing more that BA-ness there, and it's just down to the fact that it's more energy there than what it is here, because the curve is almost identical. Okay, so again, the Mei is a superior IEM to the ST5, although the ST5 compared to the others is a better IEM than the rest. Okay, so I'll probably say I'll give this a third place if I have to ultimately rank everything. Compared to the HM20, this is a tough one because, well, firstly because I actually like the HM20, but besides the fact that I like the HM20, the sound signature of both of them is very different. This has got a more kind of a more prominent V that has some reminiscence to some Harman tune, okay, sub bass focused, so it doesn't have the slam that is over here, but it's well done, it's very well executed. The mids, as I said, I think are fantastic as well on the HM20, and considering that I'm sure that it doesn't have a very elaborate crossover, simply because it just doesn't have the space to have that elaborate crossover inside the actual shell. It's a very small shell. I mean, just for you guys to see what I'm talking about. Okay, same size, same side. Okay, this is a 1+2, this is a 1+7. I mean, look at the difference of the shell size. You know, there's a true size disadvantage in the HM20. So just the simple fact that they actually were able to, look at that, the faceplate, just the fact that they were able to pull all that inside there is pretty good. As I was going back to the sound, comparing these two, as I was saying, is more difficult than the others because of that issue of the way that it's designed in terms of its sound signature. But ultimately, I think if I had to put 100 people in front of me and stick these two IEMs in their ears and see which one would be chosen more often, I still think that the Mei would be chosen more often. Why? Because it's got a more fun, a slightly more fun, easygoing sound than does the HM20. Not that the HM20 is not fun or easygoing, no, it is, but it's just, this just sounds a little bit more, I don't know, it's just got a little bit more of engagement. It's more, alive, and where, for example, can I see that aliveness? Something like "Feels Good" from Rashawn Patterson, which is a song that I usually use. This has got that mid bass fullness that confers that song a nice tonality, a nice, it completes it very nicely. That does it well, but it just a little bit more would have been ideal. So that's a song where you notice the difference. But for example, if I go to something like let me see here, let me see, Sunrise, the live version, they are more from Larry Carlton, they are more evenly matched. If I then go to something like, for example, Swept Away from Carol Dubach, again, the Mei edges out because of the way that bass is done and integrated with the mids. It just stands out. Unconditional from Soul Persona, I would probably say that, although it's a song that if you listen to it, it's got this really prominent bass impact, and it just sounds very, very nice on the HM20. I would probably just, the HM20 would probably just edge out here the Mei, but it's very much give and take between these two, very much give and take. So yeah, guys, that's basically it. I mean, CVJ Mei, well done, finally, well done. It's an IM that deserves the positive feedback that I'm giving on it. It definitely does. And I mean, for the $59, I know it's money. I definitely know it's money, but for the $59, you can't really go wrong. It's not gonna offend you in any way. It's well built. It's well put together. The switches are there to be adjusted, and they do make a difference in the sound. Although, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, the 00 setting with just a DD doesn't make any sense. But the other three settings, they will ultimately find people that will like them and will be satisfied by what they do to the sound. That's it, guys. I'll show you now the graphs, and we'll wrap it up afterwards. All right, see you now. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section then for the CVJ Mei review. These are all the four settings all together, so you can definitely see there's some major changes up there in the upper mids and treble area. There's definitely some changes, and those changes are basically down to the BAs that are present being connected or not being connected. Anyway, let me just start off with showing you the setting where only the DD is working. And I mean, this is a setting that honestly, like I said, makes absolutely no sense. I just listened to it for like a minute, and then I just left it, and that's it. So that makes no sense. Then the next setting is the one that uses the custom BA working, and this one, yes, I mean, as you can see, the bass is very nicely executed. I mean, the gain that is present in the bass from 75 to 82 roughly. I mean, there's a 7 dB gain there, so it's non-offensive. It's nice. I mean, basically everything actually sits within a 7 dB barrier. So, like I said, this is a very mild, very mild V. Honestly, the pinna gain is very. It starts a little bit earlier than usual, but it's relaxed. Peaks at 1.8 roughly. Okay. Yeah, 1.7, 1.8, and then just goes on very smoothly across the whole range there. There's no real dips or peaks that all make themselves evident. That's a couple of related peak and then extension past 10K. Alright, and then the next one is the one that uses just take this away out. This next one is the one that uses just then the Knowles BA. This one, that whole area there of 5, 6, and 7 is recessed. I guess for those that maybe have some sensitivity in this area, this is a setting that could perhaps make sense. And yes, I did listen to it for way longer than what I did with just the DD, but again, it wasn't a setting that I spent too much time on it. And then finally, the setting with both BAs working, where again you can see everything is almost the same. little bit more energy there, okay? You just feel a bigger sense of atmosphere, okay? Just a slightly more atmospheric kind of feel with both BAs working. All right, so let's just get this out here, and I'm going to show you just, okay, the basic with both BAs working, and I'm going to now add the various other models. The first one, which makes sense to add, is the mirror, and as you can see, they graph very, very similar. If I normalize it at 500 hertz, which I think makes sense to a certain point, yes, the bass is similar on both of them, with the mirror being a little bit less energetic, you know, from the pinna gain onwards. And it's, you notice this, you definitely do notice, you do notice this bigger dip here as well. If I normalize it at 1K, then you still feel what I just said, and you feel it because there is this emphasis on the mid bass, and there's a more pronounced bleed into the mid, so it kind of camouflages and darkens up everything over here. All right. Funny enough, in either way, if it's normalized at 500 or a K, you do notice that the 5K area I did occasionally feel a little bit of sibilance on the mirror, okay, even though it's a darker sounding IEM. Anyway, that's the mirror. Let me just put it back there at 500 hertz because I normalized all the others at 500 hertz, okay? So take that out. The next one I'm going to show you is the HM20. And as I was saying, you know, this is these two are a little bit hard to absolutely compare, say 100%, because the biggest difference here is more emphasis on the sub bass on the HM20, which you can notice, okay, but because the balance between the sub bass and the mid bass on the Mei has been maybe more well executed, you do feel more mid bass impact, okay. Everything sits within about roughly a 10 dB window in the HM20. Only the area below 45 hertz goes above that slightly, but everything sits within that 10 dB barrier. Pinna gain is again nice and progressive. It peaks at 2.7 hertz, and then a nice gradual descent. It's a very nice sounding, the HM20. Honestly, a very nice sounding IEM. Number 4 is the ST5 from TRN, and here again you see what I was just mentioning earlier, which is they graph like spot on. Bass is the same on either one of them. What you do notice is then that this little extra energy here, okay, and the fact that the BAs are perhaps not as well matched in overall with the rest of the there's a less well executed, let's say, coherence matching. You do notice that there's a little bit of more BA timbre, BA tonality, BA metallicness noticeable once you exceed, let's say, 60 to 70% volume. You do notice, and the TRN will definitely be something that you will have to choose a little bit more carefully your source. While on the Mei, I really didn't really worry too much. It played well with basically anything that I connected up to it. Okay. Next one is, there we go, is the Star River, and again, as I mentioned, very similar bass, but a lot more energy in the upper mids and treble, and it's noticeable, and so it confers it a more metallic, more clinical kind of sound. Okay, so while, for example, let me just show you here something. While, for example, when you look at this, you can see there's a balance between the peak here and the peak on the mids. You know, the peak of the bass and the peak of the mids, they're almost evenly matched. Something which on the mirror already doesn't happen as well. There's already a more it's almost there, but you can notice when you hear that there's a bigger mismatching there. Okay, and that's why it sounds warmer, thicker. Here it's more evenly matched again in the HM20. On the ST5 again, more evenly matched. Okay, what happens with the Star River is that matching is not as although you would say, but it's almost the same, the peak of the bass, and no, you feel more that difference there. You feel that it's an I that definitely emphasizes more on the mids, upper mids, and treble. Okay, and then finally, let me just connect up again the Mei. Then finally here, the Joy audio in its 101 setting, which is a rock and R&B, which is for me the best. Honestly, there's no comparison. There's really no comparison. The bass sounds very, very thin and non-existent in comparison. And then this matching here, the fact they use the 7mm driver here and it's not more emphasized, you notice more again that this is what comes out as being the star of the show, the mids and the highs. But they just, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's because of this lack of weight from the bass to confer a tonality to that there, which is more pleasing, but it just sounds, I mean, look, if I have to just put quickly the HM20, you can see what I mean. It's not that they are very different here, no, they're not very different here, but the HM20 has got way more bass, and this just confers a nicer, more agreeable tonality to the rest of the sound. Let me actually just put here in red so you guys can see exactly what I mean. Okay, so HM20 in red, the Shine in black. It just sounds nicer. That's it, guys. This has been a long review. I'll just leave you again with the graph of the Mei. Oh, and just out of curiosity, as I mentioned as well in my review, so that you guys don't think that I forgot, this is the graph of the Erasmus, which I'm also going to put in red so it stands out. Okay, there we go. This is the graph of the Erasmus, and I think it's self-explanatory. They sound very, very, very similar. There's the same sort of, there's a very evenly, following of the bass and of the mids and everything. Dip as well. I mean, these two IMs, they couldn't be closer sounding, to be honest with you guys. And I think the fact that they have a similar tuning is the reason why the Mei sounds as good as it does. It really does sound very, very nice. Guys, as always, like and subscribe. Click that like button over there. The YouTube gods will help me out. By the way, I've just reached 3,000 viewers, so I'm planning on doing a little giveaway. Guys, whoever comments on this video, well, especially on this video, I'm gonna try and see if I can get something nice to give back to the community, and I'll obviously do the people that comment on this video will be the ones that are selected for that giveaway. So yeah, please feel free to comment, put forward your opinions, what you think, what you don't think, what you would like to see, what you would want me to try and review. I've got some really nice reviews coming up to you guys. You'll be impressed, I can tell you that much. I've got some really nice IEMs to be reviewed in the next couple of days and weeks. Some of them have already even arrived. So yeah, looking forward to my channel growing a little bit more, interacting more with the community. So all the positive and negative feedback, there's also good things to be learned from that, but all sorts of feedback is welcomed and necessary for me to improve. Guys, that's it. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.